This is too much. We should just stop it. You know, today's video perfectly describes this phrase. Today I will tell you about two sides of one coin, about how people forgive things that can be forgiven, and how they shoot for things that they would have allowed themselves. So that's why we need a cancel culture. Tell me, you've probably seen this video at least once. Or this, and this one. What has become of these people now? It's unbelievable, but nothing. Absolutely nothing. They continue to conduct their activities, become even more popular, and earn millions. But why should public concern avoid them? Do we allow ourselves to support such people in action and indifference? That's why we need a cancel culture. So what do we know about the cancel culture? I am weak in history, so my friend Ilya will tell you more about it.
Hello everyone, it's me, Ilya. So, what do we know about cancel culture? It's a culture of withdrawal, also known as a culture of exclusion. It's a contemporary type of ostracism in which an individual or a group is marginalized and condemned in social or professional cultures, both online and in the real world. Let us clarify what ostracism is. Ostracism was a practice used by Athenian democracy to evict citizens from the city-state of Athens for a period of 10 years. While several cases specifically reflected public outrage at the resident, ostracism was often used as a preventative measure. It was used to neutralize someone considered a threat to the establishment or a possible dictator.
Thank you, Ilya. Well, we are moving on.
So, cancellation is often understood as a sharp public criticism, but it's still not entirely correct to draw an equal side between them. Both imply public pressure in the case when the views and ideas that a person broadcasts publicly don't fit into modern ideas about the world. Today, the English cancel is increasingly used in the context of criticism in public discussion of unacceptable behavior. For example, when they say that it's necessary to cancel a person who consistently speaks with discrimination views. The expression is more common in English, but the culture of cancellation is gradually taking hold in Russian. Although it is too early to talk about the establishment of institution of reputation in the Russian-speaking culture field. Today, people think about the possible consequences of discriminatory statements much more often than a few years ago. This is one of the manifestations of the global trend, which in the English-speaking world is called cancel culture. And in our society, the term new ethics has begun to take root. And both terms are often used by opponents of the trend in a derogatory sense. Cancellation is called, for example, a culture boycott. It pretty accurately described the essence of the protest. The main mechanism of action here is financial. If a person loses income because of his views, he might decide to reconsider them. All this, of course, does not include consequences in other areas as well. For example, dismissal. If the company decides that reputational risks are too high. This happened, for example, with the actress and comedian Roseanne Barr, known from the sitcom Roseanne. The series ran from 1988 to 1997, and in 2017 they decided to revive it for another season. But after just a few months, Roseanne was closed due to racist and Islamophobic statements by Barr. The actress tweeted about the former assistant of Barack Obama, Valerie Jarrett. that she is a descendant of the Muslim Brothers and the Planet of the Apes. Rezan apologized shortly thereafter, but one of the show's producers announced that she was left him, and then the channel completely closed the sitcom. But cancellation applies the onset of reputational responsibility. A person is encouraged to reconsider his views, to apologize, and if this doesn't happen, to deprive him of the platform and opportunity to continue discrimination. This is not about revenge or a position of strength. As a rule, cancellation is a symbolic action. For example, in the case of violence by R. Kelly and Michael Jackson, cancellation was a call to stop supporting their creativity and listening to their music. To say, remove their music from streaming service, there was no question. James Bennett, editor of the New York Times opinion section, resided himself due to a heavily criticized column in the publication. Arkansas junior senator and Donald Trump supporter Tom Cotton wrote in the Send in the Troops column, calling on the president to use military force against protesters in the wake of police brutality and the death of George Floyd. A note was added to the column a few days later that it didn't meet editorial standards and should not have been published. Ben's case in Russian was discussed almost as a violation of the journalistic principles of giving the floor to the other side, and in the West, as a case when the publication's democratic values were more important to him. Cancel culture is a way to hold a well-known and powerful person or group accountable for legal, social, ethical violations through refusal of support and or public condemnation, mainly on social networks. In the modern world, there are many examples of different cases where celebrities often fell victim to the culture of cancellation. At the same time, like any movement that arises and develops spontaneously, cancellation cannot be controlled, as well as the actions of each specific participant. The same J.K. Rowling, for example, said that she faced threats in the context of discussing her statements, and under the hashtag #ReapJKRowling, there was not only constructive criticism of her views, but also elements of harassment. It seems that there are particularly no people who would take the cancel culture calmly, while some actively support public criticism. Others are afraid of its widespread dissemination and public dictatorship. It is important to understand that public scandals are not a well-coordinated massive attack against everything that the public doesn't agree with. Situations can vary greatly. Accusation of harassment and outrage at brand posts on social media are cases of varying severity, and each will have different consequences as the dust settles. After all, the culture of cancellation is not about revenge or punishment. Rather, it is a way to set new norms and publicly speak out which is no longer acceptable. Anyone can make a mistake, and it is much more important to give an opportunity to discuss and admit this mistake. In this case, you should not take the phenomenon of cancellation literally. Public pressure is a legitimate and adequate tool for establishing important ethical rules. But this doesn't mean that the offense does not imply atonement, and the fight against a particular person must be waged to the last drop of blood. Thank you for your attention. Put likes, write comments, subscribe to the channel, make the red button gray. And of course, click on the bell to immediately know when a new video has been released. Bye bye!